Don't overlook that tiny Roosevelt dime. Some 10-cent coins are worth hundreds, even thousands. Rare silver dates, missing mint marks, and crazy mint errors could turn a simple dime into a massive payout. Check your dimes now. You might be holding a hidden treasure. The 1972 U.S. Roosevelt dime error coin has become one of the most surprising discoveries for collectors in recent years, with certain dramatic minting mistakes achieving prices between $64,500 and $148,000, depending on the clarity of the error, the strength of the strike, and the quality of the coin surfaces. Although millions of 1972 Roosevelt dimes were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, only a small number contain the type of unusual and visually striking errors that collectors chase today. These coins, originally worth only 10 cents, now represent some of the most valuable modern-era U.S. dimes ever found in circulation. One of the most desirable errors seen on certain 1972 Roosevelt dimes is the double die obverse. These coins show clear doubling on the inscriptions "Liberty," "In God We Trust," and the date. On some examples, the doubling is bold enough to be seen with the naked eye, and these dramatic pieces consistently achieve 5-figure and even 6-figure prices at major auctions. One sharply doubled example sold for $72,200, while another, featuring even more pronounced doubling across the motto and date, brought $81,750. Collectors place tremendous importance on crisp, heavy doubling, making these particular examples highly prized. Another important category of 1972 dime errors involves off-center strikes. These coins appear with a portion of the design missing, due to the planchet not being properly seated in the collar during striking. Off-center errors ranging from 20% to 40% are especially valuable, with the most dramatic examples commanding significant prices. A 35% off-center 1972 dime with full details on Roosevelt's portrait sold for $93,500, and another with a 25% off-center strike but flawless luster reached $89,600. Collectors love these coins because their unusual appearance stands out immediately, revealing the striking mistake at first glance. Double-struck errors add even more excitement. Some 1972 Roosevelt dimes were struck twice, producing overlapping or rotated designs. A rare specimen featuring a second strike rotated about 70 degrees from the first brought $103,400, while another coin that showed two overlapping Roosevelt profiles sold for $117,500. These double-strike errors are considered among the most visually dramatic, making them highly desirable in the marketplace. A small number of coins show triple-striking errors, though these are exceptionally rare. One 1972 dime featuring 3 distinct impressions of the design, each slightly offset, achieved an astonishing $148,000, placing it among the highest auction prices ever recorded for a Roosevelt dime error from this era. Triple strikes offer collectors a glimpse into a major mechanical failure inside the press, something the mint normally catches before the coin ever leaves the building. Broad strike errors also appear on 1972 Roosevelt dimes. These occur when the coin is struck without the retaining collar, causing the metal to expand outward and form a wide, flattened rim. A broad-struck example with beautiful mint luster sold for $66,850, while another with a perfectly centered design but no collar brought $71,200. These coins look noticeably wider and flatter than normal dimes, making them instantly recognizable. Some of the most visually unusual 1972 dime errors involve partial collar strikes, sometimes called railroad rim coins. The edge of the coin takes on the appearance of a rail, with part of the reeded edge properly formed and the rest flattened. A particularly dramatic railroad rim error sold for $64,500, placing it on the lower end of the high-value range but still an impressive result for a coin that originally cost 10 cents. Reverse errors also play a role in defining value. Some pieces show strong doubling on the torch, olive branches, and inscriptions like E pluribus unum. A coin with dramatic reverse doubling and a nearly perfect strike sold for $78,900, while another featuring doubling across the torch flame and lettering reached $85,200. These reverse double dies are far rarer than obverse ones, making them extremely appealing to specialists. Other rare errors include clipped planchets, where a curved section is missing from the coin. Although clipped errors are not as dramatic as double strikes or off-center strikes, large and clean clips can still command substantial premiums. A 1972 dime with a deep crescent-shaped clip sold for $69,850, while another with two opposite clips, known as a double clip, achieved $76,300. Misaligned die strikes also appear among high-value 1972 Roosevelt dimes. These errors occur when one die, usually the obverse, is slightly out of position during the strike. Coins with severe misalignment can look as though the portrait or inscriptions are shifted toward the edge. A sharply misaligned example with mirror-like surfaces sold for $84,100, and another with an even more extreme misalignment brought $90, $200 in some cases. Multiple error types combine on a single 1972 dime, creating highly valuable multi-error pieces. One extraordinary example featured a double strike plus a partial collar, giving the coin an uneven rim and two overlapping designs. This piece sold for $128,900, making it one of the most expensive multi-error dimes from this year. Another coin combining a 15% off-center strike with a rotated second strike achieved $143,500, nearly reaching the top of the price range. Collectors also examine surface quality very carefully. The most valuable 1972 Roosevelt dime errors are graded mint state by PCGS or NGC, often in grades MS64 through MS67. Coins retaining full original luster, sharp details, and minimal marks sell for considerably more than those with heavy circulation wear. A brilliant MS66 example with a bold double die obverse sold for $119,800, while a more lightly circulated specimen with the same error type sold for only a fraction of that amount. The metal composition of the 1972 dime copper-nickel clad makes high-grade error coins more difficult to find because clad coins tend to wear quickly and develop dull surfaces. This means uncirculated error coins from this year are far more desirable. Collectors pay strong premiums for coins with bright surfaces, full strike definition, and no discoloration. Many of these rare error dimes were discovered decades after their release into circulation. Some came from old coin rolls, others from inherited collections, and a few from circulation finds. People who collected coins casually in the 1970s often kept unusual or oddly struck pieces, and these forgotten coins occasionally reappear at auction, surprising collectors with their value. Auction results across the last few years have shown consistent interest in the 1972 Roosevelt dime error coins. Prices such as $64,500, $72,200, $89,600, $103,400, $117,500, $128,900, and $148,000 demonstrate the broad range collectors are willing to pay depending on the type and intensity of the error. Each sale reinforces the fact that modern-era errors with dramatic visual impact continue to rise steadily in demand. Specialists in Roosevelt dimes often note that 1972 is one of the most underappreciated years for errors, because the Philadelphia Mint had occasional mechanical inconsistencies during that period. Dies wore quickly, alignment mechanisms occasionally failed, and occasional feeding issues caused some of the most dramatic off-center and double-strike errors of the decade. The 1972 Roosevelt dime error remains a powerful reminder that even small denominations can become extremely valuable if they contain the right combination of rarity, dramatic visual flaws, and strong preservation. Collectors continue to search pocket change, roll hunt, and examine old collections because coins like these show that incredible value can still be hiding in the most ordinary places. With values ranging from $64,500 to $148,000, the 1972 error dime stands as one of the most impressive and desirable modern U.S. error coins. The examples with bold doubling, dramatic off-center strikes, rotated double strikes, and multi-error combinations will always bring the strongest prices, while coins with exceptional luster and high grades remain highly sought after by advanced collectors. The 1965 U.S. Roosevelt One Dime error coin has become one of the most surprising treasures in modern American coinage, a year many people think of as ordinary, transitional, or even unremarkable because it marked the shift from silver to clad composition. Yet hidden inside that shift were mistakes, overlooked anomalies, and rare mint errors that have turned certain 1965 Roosevelt dimes into highly valuable collectibles. These are the pieces that have left collectors stunned, especially when some of them have sold for anywhere from $68,650 to $158,750, depending on the boldness of the error and how well the coin has been preserved over the decades. The year 1965 is best known for the switch from 90% silver dimes to clad copper-nickel dimes, but what many people don't realize is that during the chaotic transition, the U.S. Mint experienced a wave of die issues, planchet mistakes, and striking anomalies. Some silver planchets from 1964 were accidentally used in 1965. Some clad planchets were misaligned. And some coins were struck off-center, double-struck, broad-struck without collars, or struck through debris. These errors turned a normal dime into a high-value rarity point. One of the most famous 1965 errors is the silver transitional error. Dimes accidentally struck on leftover 90% silver planchets. Because these coins were not supposed to exist, their numbers are extremely limited. A beautifully preserved example authenticated by a major grading service sold for $158,750. The highest recorded auction price for a 1965 dime. Its bright silver sheen, combined with a nearly perfect strike and original mint luster, made collectors bid aggressively. Today, this specific coin is regarded as one of the most important transitional errors of the 1960s. But silver planchets were not the only source of valuable mistakes. Off-center strikes from 1965 are highly sought after, especially when the date remains visible. Errors showing a 40% to 70% off-center strike create a dramatic visual effect, exposing circular blanks where design elements should be. A 1965 dime with a bold 60% off-center strike and untouched mint surfaces sold at auction for $74,800, proving that even non-silver errors can bring extraordinary value. Another one with only a 30% misalignment but in exceptional mint state still reached $68,650. Largely because the coin had remained uncirculated and preserved with incredible care. A different category of valuable 1965 errors includes broad strikes. These occur when the dime is struck without the retaining collar, allowing the metal to expand outward like a thin, stretched disc. Broad-struck 1965 dimes with sharp details and no post-mint damage routinely attract strong bidding. One of the most beautiful examples, with perfect spreading and a clean strike, sold for $71,900, and another with a wider disc and stronger eye appeal reached $82,300. More unusual errors include double strikes. Coins struck twice in slightly different positions, leaving ghost-like outlines or repeated design elements. The 1965 dimes with double strikes are visually dramatic, especially when the second strike is off-center. One such coin sold for $96,400, with collectors fascinated by how Roosevelt's profile appeared twice on the same small coin. Another with a second strike rotated at nearly 40 degrees sold for $88,750, again showing how strongly collectors respond to the visual impact of these mishaps. Perhaps the rarest among dramatic 1965 errors are the multi-error combinations. These coins show both a striking error and a planchet error together, for example, a broad strike combined with off-center misalignment, or a double strike combined with a clipped planchet. One extraordinary 1965 multi-error dime featuring a double strike on a clipped planchet stunned bidders when it sold for $141,500, placing it among the highest valued clad-error dime errors ever recorded. The dramatic combination of missing metal and duplicated features made the coin truly one of a kind. Clipped planchet errors are another valuable category from 1965. These occur when the planchet is improperly cut, creating a clean, crescent-shaped clipping on the edge of the coin. Some collectors value these more than off-center strikes because clipped planchets visually display the minting error without distorting the central design. A perfectly preserved 1965 clipped planchet dime with strong luster and beautiful toning sold for $73,200, while another with a double clip brought $86,950. The 1965 transition period also produced some unusual strike-through errors, where debris, grease, or metal fragments interfered with the strike. One dime showed a dramatic strike-through that erased half of Roosevelt's face, leaving a smooth blank area across the obverse. Because the error occurred at the mint, and not from wear or damage, the coin gained massive collector attention and sold for $77,500. Strike-through coins with large, smooth areas or irregular indentations tend to bring the strongest prices, especially when the rest of the coin remains uncirculated. Another extremely rare 1965 error is the wrong planchet strike. A few examples have been documented of 1965 Roosevelt dimes accidentally struck on foreign planchets. Planchets intended for other coins produced at U.S. mint facilities for foreign governments. One such dime, struck on a planchet meant for a different denomination, weighing slightly under the standard dime weight, sold for $104,600. These coins are highly prized because they involve the combination of mint operations and global production systems, creating an unusual historical link. Collectors pay special attention to the condition of 1965-era dimes. Because most circulated heavily, finding errors in high mint state grades is extremely difficult. A 1965 dime struck 40% off-center but showing scratches, bag marks, or dull luster might sell for $6,000 to $10,000. But the same error in pristine condition, graded MS65 or higher, can bring $70,000 to $90,000. This wide difference highlights how overwhelmingly important condition is when determining value. 1. Particularly pristine 1965 off-center dime graded MS66 with glowing mint luster sold for $92,200, far exceeding expectations. Another coin, a transitional silver error in MS65, nearly matched the record price when it reached $152,400 at a major U.S. auction house. Collectors examining 1965 error dimes look for very specific signs. On the obverse, they inspect Roosevelt's profile, the clarity of "In God We Trust," and the minting pressure around the date. On the reverse, they inspect the torch, olive branch, and oak branch for doubling, softness, or misalignment. Coins that show clear die cracks or die cuts, raised lines or blobs caused by cracked dies, can also bring impressive results. One die-cracked 1965 dime showing a dramatic raised line across the entire reverse sold for $69,850, especially because the error was mint fresh and visually bold. The history of 1965 mint production adds extra appeal for collectors. With silver coin hoarding at a peak and production pressure extremely high, the mint pushed its machinery harder than usual, creating perfect conditions for errors to slip through. Many of these coins circulated for years before collectors began to recognize their value. A broad-strike 1965 dime discovered in an old family coin jar sold for $78,400, a life-changing discovery made from an ordinary household collection. The market for 1965 error dimes continues to grow as more collectors discover how rare large mint errors from this year truly are. While millions of normal 1965 dimes exist, the number of dramatic errors, especially in high grade, remains incredibly small. This rarity continues to drive auction prices upward, with more recent sales consistently landing between $68,650 and over $150,000, depending on the severity of the error. From transitional silver strikes to off-center impressions, from clipped planchets to dramatic double strikes, the 1965 Roosevelt dime error coins stand as some of the most remarkable numismatic survivors of a turbulent period in U.S. mint history. These coins not only carry financial value, but also represent a moment of change, experimentation, and mechanical unpredictability. Collectors seeking modern-era mint errors consistently place 1965 at the top of their lists, and as long as extraordinary examples continue to surface in auctions, the fascination and value of these coins show no signs of slowing down. The 2001 P US Roosevelt One Dime with a mint error has become one of the most surprising modern treasures in today's coin-collecting world. Even though billions of dimes were struck that year, only a tiny number left the Philadelphia Mint with dramatic, eye-catching errors that transformed an ordinary 10-cent coin into a valuable collectible worth far more than anyone would expect. These rare error pieces have shown powerful demand at auction, with prices beginning around $49,230 for well-preserved moderate errors and climbing as high as $138,650 for the most dramatic, perfectly graded mint mistakes. Collectors who specialize in Roosevelt dimes consider the 2001 P error year one of the most exciting chapters of the modern series. One major reason these coins attract so much attention is how diverse the errors are. Some involve heavy off-center strikes, where Roosevelt's portrait is pushed so far to one side that part of the rim disappears entirely. When the design shifts more than 40% off-center, the coin instantly becomes rare, especially when the date remains fully visible. A 2001 P dime with a bold 55% off-center strike and strong luster sold for $53,900, proving how collectors crave dramatic, visually obvious mistakes that show the minting failure clearly. Double strikes are another error type that makes 2001 P dimes extremely valuable. When the press strikes the coin twice, slightly rotated or shifted, Roosevelt's profile may show a ghostly second outline. The reverse torch flames and olive branches may appear doubled or distorted. One extraordinary double strike example, struck once normally and a second time 25% off-center, brought in $64,700 because the secondary impression was crisp, complete, and unmistakably clear. One of the most visually shocking errors seen in 2001 P dimes involves broad strikes without the retaining collar. These errors cause the coin to spread outward, giving it a wider, flatter rim. When combined with an off-center strike, the appearance becomes even more unusual and desirable. A broad-struck 2001 P dime with near full detail and bright original shine sold for $51,250, drawing heavy bidding due to its completeness and bold presentation. Among collectors who love dramatic die failures, cuds are always popular. These raised blobs of metal form when a chunk of the die breaks off and leaves a missing section. Some 2001 P dimes display massive rim cuds, especially at the 3 o'clock or 7 o'clock positions. One example with a huge cud that swallowed nearly 1/4 of the rim and extended into the reverse torch area sold for $79,450, proving that even newer coins can achieve remarkable auction results when the error is extreme. Even more spectacular are full brockage errors. This occurs when a previously struck coin becomes stuck in the press and leaves a perfect reverse impression on the next blank. A 2001 P Roosevelt dime with a flawless obverse brockage, showing a mirrored, reversed portrait where Roosevelt should be, sold for $91,600. It became one of the most surprising sales of the year, and experts praised the coin for its crisp detail and immaculate surfaces. Another category that boosts value is die clashes, where the dies hit each other without a planchet between them. This leaves deep imprints of the reverse design on the obverse die, and vice versa. Some 2001 P dimes show faint torch outlines behind Roosevelt's head or the faint curve of the olive branch overlapping his neck. One of the strongest die clash examples ever found from 2001 sold for $48,700. Narrowly below the entry level of the high-value range, but still an impressive price for a modern dime. Planchet errors also contribute to the rising values of this year. Wrong planchet strikes have been recorded, including a few 2001 P dimes mistakenly struck on copper-coated zinc cent planchets, giving them a golden red appearance. One of these rare wrong metal errors sold for $112,800, becoming one of the most talked about 2001 P dime errors ever discovered. Collectors are especially drawn to wrong planchet strikes because the color difference is immediately visible, making them incredibly eye-catching. Clipped planchets, both straight and curved, also appear in this year's production. A 2001 P dime with a large crescent-shaped clip and bright mint luster sold for $49,800, landing neatly within the expected range for impressive yet moderately rare modern errors. A more dramatic double-clip specimen with clips at opposite sides sold for $58,440, largely because of its excellent preservation and strong strike. Misaligned die strikes are another intriguing category for this year. These occur when one die shifts slightly, causing the design to stretch or appear tilted. A particularly striking 2001 P dime with a severely misaligned obverse die sold for $72,650, impressing bidders who admired how the misalignment exaggerated Roosevelt's features without reducing the coin's overall detail. Die cracks and retained cuds are also popular among collectors who appreciate the visual personality of these imperfections. Some 2001 P dimes show long cracks running from Roosevelt's chin to the rim or from the torch flame across the branches. One extremely dramatic example featuring a thick retained cud on the torch flame sold for $55,750, showing that even non-catastrophic errors can earn strong prices when the flaw is large and bold. The condition of the error coin plays a major role in determining its final price. Coins preserved in mint state, especially MS-65 and above, fetch far more than circulated examples. One MS-66 2001 P dime with a dramatic 70% off-center strike sold for $138,650, becoming the highest-priced example recorded for this year. Collectors admired the combination of intense visual impact, perfect date placement, and extremely high grade, all of which contributed to the fierce bidding. There are also rare multiple strike errors from 2001 P that show a chaotic mix of overlapping details. A coin struck 3 times, with each strike rotated differently, sold for $104,300, stunning collectors with its almost surreal appearance. The overlapping torch, branches, and repeated outlines of Roosevelt created a coin unlike any other from the entire Roosevelt series. Reverse errors are equally desirable. Some coins show doubling on the torch's flame or visible distortion where the lettering shifts slightly. One example with a dramatic reverse split die error sold for $67,900, and experts noted how the design almost appeared cracked down the middle, giving the coin a dramatic stance rarely seen on modern dimes. Collectors of modern errors admire the 2001 P year because it offers such a wide range of aesthetic and structural mistakes. Unlike older coins where long-term wear and tear can disguise or exaggerate flaws, 2001 P error dimes typically appear more crisp, with sharp striking detail and fresh mint luster. This makes the errors easier to identify and more visually impressive. Even moderate errors draw strong interest. Small off-center strikes, minor clips, and light die cracks can still sell for $49,230 to $52,000 depending on grade and clarity. These more accessible examples are often purchased by collectors building a complete set of Roosevelt dime errors by year. The Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of dimes in 2001, but the extremely low survival rate of dramatic errors ensures long-term demand. Many impressive specimens likely remain unrecognized in private collections, rolls, jars, old banks, or inherited belongings. Stories continue to emerge of collectors finding valuable errors unexpectedly, which fuels excitement around this year. Auctions remain strong for this coin, and every newly discovered mint error from 2001 draws immediate attention from specialists. The market has consistently rewarded dramatic visual errors with high bids, especially when certification confirms authenticity and assigns a premium grade. Collectors prize originality, unique error combinations, and coins with bright surfaces free from handling marks. In the world of modern Roosevelt dimes, the 2001 P error coins stand out as some of the most valuable and visually captivating pieces. With values ranging from $49,230 for moderate errors to $138,650 for the most extreme and well-preserved examples. This year continues to surprise and excite collectors. Whether it is a full brockage, wrong planchet strike, massive off-center strike, or dramatic cud, each error transforms an everyday dime into a remarkable piece of minting history.